Welcome to the Wednesday webinar on managing Solidworks data in Windchill. My name is Michael Wimberley, and of course, I will be presenting today. So just the overall objective, of course, to go through and talk about Windchill with Solidworks. How do we manage Solidworks data with inside of Windchill? So I will do a brief introduction on myself as well as PDS Vision. Just give a brief overview about managing CAD data inside of Windchill or inside of any PLM system, specifically, of course, Windchill. Do a live demonstration, have a Q&A afterwards, and of course, just a final thank you for attending. While I'm actually presenting, if you do have questions, you can type them in the questions box inside of the webinar dialog box, and I will see them. More than likely, I will probably answer those towards the end or at the end during the Q&A session. But if something does pop into your head, feel free to go ahead and type that in. That way we can make sure we address your question. All right, so the first thing, of course, I am Michael Wimberley. I've been with PDS Vision now for over 10 years. I have over 25 years of experience with PDC products, from their actual CAD products into the actual data management, going back to anyone that's been on the system for a long time. There was a system called Pro PDM. So I started on that and then went through the stages of Pro PDM, Introlink, and then into Windchill. I am a certified trainer as well as implementer of Creo as well as Windchill. PDS Vision, formerly Boundary Systems. As of the first of the year, we did formally change our name to PDS Vision US. We are a technology leader in what we do. We are the first PTC global reseller and service provider. So because of our merger with PDS Vision becoming one of their US-based companies, we gained their offices as well as them gaining our offices. So we have locations, in the Middle East, we have them in South Africa, and of course in Europe. So we're all over the place. We are a software solutions developer for design and manufacturing. Our capabilities include consulting, implementation services, professional training, cloud services, and of course our help desk. Just a brief background between Boundary Systems and PDS Vision. Boundary Systems was founded in 2006. PDS Vision was in 2008. Boundary Systems became a preferred Windchill partner in 2009. We also opened up offices into South Africa. In 2018 is when we actually became a part of the PDS Vision group, and PDS Vision also acquired additional companies during that time. And then as I stated just a moment ago, in 2022 is when we officially changed our name to PDS Vision US. And I will tell you now, look for big things to change or to update. I won't say change, to get better in 2023 as we continue to grow. So just look for some updates coming in 2023 because there's some good things happening within the organization. Some of our strategic partners, once again, PDC, and then of course we have Tactime, Modex, Xformation, and as you can see, several others on the screen. If you want any information on those, feel free to reach out to myself or sales, and I'll give you the information on those, or we can give you the information on those. We also have webinars on the majority of that information or those softwares. So if you do look on our YouTube page, it'll be under PDS Vision. You will see some webinars that cover a lot of that information as well. One of the things that we are also focusing on quite a bit is digital thread concept. What that simply means is weaving all of the different aspects of your product life cycle into a joint configuration. So everything from, you can see in the inner circle here, where we have just basically a lot of the engineering work from CAD simulations, CAD management, document management, requirements, and technical publications. Those are kind of the hands-on immediate things, but then that now spreads out to things like bond management, change management, And then, continuous on quality is also in there, project management. From there, we're also coming out to supplier integration. And then design for manufacturing, 3D manufacturing, and then from that one, we even going out to IoT products. So how can we go through and weave those different aspects of your overall design process into a quote unquote digital thread? That's what we actually have conceptually begun to do. We would love to go in and review what you're currently doing and how we can go through and expand what you're doing into more. Because a lot of us in the engineering world are doing these different pieces, but a lot of those are segmented. So they're not actually joined together. What we're doing with digital thread is now beginning to use different pieces of software to tie all that together, so we kind of reduce the continuous rework or re-input, or having an item in two different locations in our design process. So that's where digital thread really comes in to help us make sure that we're all using the same information tied together at all different levels. So once again, we actually have a set of webinars that we've done on this as well. We've done 5 up to now, and then we're going to start the next phase of those at the beginning of the year. So once again, you can see those on our YouTube page as well. All right, so PLM to manage CAD data. One thing to keep in mind is that a lot of engineering environments are multi-CAD engineering. Whether it's multiple 3D CAD systems, a 3D CAD system, and a 2D CAD system, whatever it may be. But a lot of engineering houses or facilities will have multiple CAD systems. And that may also be from acquisitions. This original system, this original company used this CAD system. They acquired this other company, and they use this other CAD system. And both of them are fully integrated with those CAD systems. Well, what you want is you want to be able to have a PLM system that can manage those two CAD systems or multiple CAD systems fluidly without any issues. That's what you're looking for a PLM system. And once again, for those that are not familiar with PLM, product lifecycle management. So how do we manage our products through its entire lifecycle? And that's what we're looking at for the third bullet point, is not just store data. So we're not looking at just a reservoir to put stuff in, but we also want to be able to properly move it through its design process. So what happens when it goes from conceptual design to prototype? What deliverables are necessary? Are we looking at creating step files for review? Are we going in and creating rapid prototyping for it? How does it get from one phase to another phase? Who approves it? Who rejects it? Who looks at it? All those different things. You want to be able to properly manage that data. So once again, the product life cycle of the actual data. And even if you're looking at a single CAD environment, you still need a system that can properly manage the CAD system data, even if it's not from the native CAD system. So although you may be using one CAD system that has a PLM/PDM system, that may not give you everything that you want to properly manage your data. So you may need to look at a different PLM system. Windchill, of course. All right, so from here, we're going to go ahead and jump right into a demonstration. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is go in and showing managing your CAD data just simply using Creo or through Creo. So this is a scenario where you're not actually going in and modifying the files. You're looking to go through and use them in your assembly, or any changes that you're going to make to those files are going to be made in Creo, because you're not going to use the native software, once again, that being Solidworks. So we want to be able to bring it into Creo and then be able to store that data into Windchill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and open up an assembly. Somehow, there it is. No, this is what I'm looking for. open. So currently I have a workspace, and that's what you're looking at inside of Windchill. Actually, I will make sure I'm looking at my workspace. Yep. So that is my current workspace. So I have this workspace called SolidWorks Data. So right now, of course, as I said, that workspace is currently empty. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a file. It is, of course, initially looking for SolidWorks data, but I don't have anything at the moment. So I'm going to go into my documents. And then inside of here, I have some SolidWorks data. And of course, because it is Creo, it is looking for native Creo files. All I have to do down here is now change that to just all files. And it now goes in and shows me the SolidWorks data that is currently in that file or in that folder. So I'm going to select on this and I'm going to open it. Now, the reason I can open this is that inside of Creo, they have technology called the Unite technology, which allows you to open native CAD files from other systems into Creo. So I don't have to import it. I can actually open it, and as you can see, it is maintaining its SolidWorks information. So it didn't convert it into an IGES file, a step file, or at this one, even a Creo file. It is actually still a native SolidWorks file that we're simply opening inside of Creo. So with that, I just go ahead and simply save it. And when I save that file, when I go back into my workspace, there they are. And once again, what you see is you see the icon for SolidWorks. So once again, Windchill recognizes an actual SolidWorks file natively, although I'm not using the Workgroup Manager, which we'll get into in just a moment. I can still go through and open up these files directly inside of Creo. So as I said, I can use these. I can open this up and store it inside of Windchill. Once again, I'm not tying it to SolidWorks at this point. What I'm actually tying it to is Creo. So because I don't have the Workgroup Manager, when I go to open it, it's going to open this file in Creo, not look for SolidWorks. So with that, once again, I'll go ahead and close this, or close the assembly, which was behind it. I'm now inside of my workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and simply check them in. So I'm going to take these new files, check them in. I'm going to go through and specify where I want them to go. And I have my SolidWorks data folder that I want everything to be checked into. And it works just like you do, for Creo. So it works the exact same way. Just real quick, I did have a question about while this is checking in, what versions am I using? I'm using 9.0 of Creo and 12 of Windchill. So those are the two versions I'm currently using. So it's going in and it's checking in these files. Once again, they're new files, so it's going in and uploading those and then checking them into the database. You can see here that's actually what it's looking at, what it's doing at the moment, is it's going in and uploading these files. So just give it a few moments. Sure why it's taking this one. It's testing it. But once again, we are using the native SolidWorks files inside of Creo, and once again, storing them inside of Windchill. I'm not sure why it's taking this time. Well, at least it's moving. Doesn't lock up. So, as I said, we're using this because we're not actually going to be using SolidWorks to maintain these files for us. Now, there is another webinar that we've done that deals with the Unite technology and an add-on to the Unite technology, which allows us to be able to truly use a multi-CAD environment, because what it allows us to do is have these files in a location and still have SolidWorks changing them. But when they save, it will actually go through and mark the items that we have as out of date. because we're pulling from the same location. Once they mark them out of date, you're actually able to do a replace in your Creo session without having to go in and close everything out and then update it again. And I think the Unite technology is beneficial because if anybody has ever gone in and used IGES files or step files or anything that you got from vendors, anytime they send you a new file, you basically have to delete the old one and put the new one in. But by using the Unite technology, it allows you to swap them out without having to delete and reattach whatever was referencing it. So as I said, we've done a webinar on that previously. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can still contact me on it, or once again, sales, and as well as research that information on our YouTube page. All right, so as you can see, it has gone in and checked in the files. Now, because this is Windchill and we have it set up just like with our normal Creo files, it goes in and gives us our WT parts. What these are, of course, is our Windchill technology. So when we get into BOM management, when we talk about MBOMs, we talk about SBOMs, we talk about integration with ERP, all that is still here. So this is part of that PLM environment, which allows us to now still be able to connect our Windchill with whatever your PLM system is. So if it's, JD Edwards, if it's Oracle, whatever it may be, you can go in and properly connect to your ERP system, once again, with BOM management exchanging. So as you can see, there we have it. So when I go in, I look at the information on, let's just say this assembly, there it is. Just like Creo, we have a publisher that actually goes through and creates the viewables for your SolidWorks data. So the publisher is SolidWorks, so it still goes in and publishes the data just like it would if it was a Creo file. So that's what I'm saying. Well, I mentioned before, being able to properly manage your data no matter what software it comes from. So we can use this just as though it was an actual Creo file. So it's behaving the exact same way, have a life cycle associated with it, which has the different permissions on it. As I mentioned before, authoring application, it recognizes that it is SolidWorks. So we did not try to convert it to a Creo file. Now you can do that if you go in and decide to start making changes to it. The one thing that you do want to keep in mind as well is that if I come in and I open up this file and I begin to try to make changes to it. So if I start adding features or I want to manipulate the features that are there using flexible modeling, then I'm going to go in and it's telling me, of course, I don't have it checked out. Sure, I want to go ahead and check it out. Now, when I go in and start to make changes to this using flexible modeling, because it recognizes that this is a SolidWorks file, it says you are about to make design changes to the model. These changes will not reflect in the native model. Please use save a copy if you want to convert this model to a Creo model and apply the changes. So it's telling me that if I go in and make changes to this, the original SolidWorks file will not be affected. I will need to go in and do a save as and save this as a Creo file so that now everything that I am doing will now be reflected in that quote unquote Creo file using the SolidWorks file as the base geometry. So just something to keep in mind when you are going in and beginning to manipulate. So this environment is once again using Creo to put your SolidWorks data into Windchill. The next one that we're going to be looking at is actually using SolidWorks. So with SolidWorks, we have what is called, or for SolidWorks, we have what is called a Workgroup Manager. So in Creo, what we have is we have that embedded browser. That embedded browser works kind of as our connection between Windchill and Creo. When we're looking at SolidWorks, because it does not have that embedded browser, what PTC has done is they've created the Workgroup Manager, which now works as the connection between SolidWorks and Windchill. So this is equivalent to that embedded browser where now we can go through and look at our workspaces, look in the database, whatever it is that we need to go through and look at. So same scenario, I currently do not have files in my workspace, so I'm going to go ahead and open up files. So once again, in the Workgroup Manager. I'm going to go into SolidWorks and just say open. Now with this, I have, if I look at my workspace, once again, it is currently empty. So there's a link there for my workspace. The other thing to keep in mind, with SolidWorks is that Windchill is an add-on to SolidWorks, but it still allows you to manipulate files on your hard drive, and then you can upload files into Windchill. So there is a connection there between them. So for example, I'm going to go into my downloads, SolidWorks, and now here is this assembly. Should look familiar because it's the same assembly I opened in the other session. Now, these are two different Windchill environments, just so you're aware. So normally if I did this and tried to go in and upload them or check them in, it will give me an error because, of course, the names will be the same. So when I go through but for this one, because it is a separate environment, I won't have that conflict. So when I open it, there it is. Now for this, if I went in and just did a save, it's going to save it back to where I opened it from. But for this one, I want to go through and tell it specifically now to save it to the workspace. So that's something else that I want you to be aware of. Initially, you'll have these assembly, layout, sketch, markup, evaluate, SolidWorks add-ons. When we go in and now integrate the Workgroup Manager into SolidWorks, we now have this additional tab called PTC Windchill. So this is now the connection between Windchill and, once again, your SolidWorks session. So I'm going to go ahead and say save to Workspace. And give it a few moments to actually write this to the workspace. And you can see down here, it has now saved that information or saved those files to my workspace. So when I go back to my workspace, there they are. Now, remember the last time when I was showing you in the Creo, embedded browser in Creo, these files were linked to Creo. But because I'm using the Workgroup Manager connected to SolidWorks, these files are linked to SolidWorks. So when I go to open them, it's going to open inside of SolidWorks through the Workgroup Manager. So these are a little bit different from that aspect. So same thing here. I can select these files, and I can go ahead and say I want to check these in. And I'll come over here and specify where I want them to go. Create a new folder called data. That's where I want these to go. So these will now be stored inside of that folder. So as you can see, now all these files have been uploaded and checked in. So if I go into that product, wait a minute, sorry. I'll come back into here, look at this file, and there it is. Now, this environment does not have the Workgroup the publisher installed. So that's why we're not getting the viewable here. That one is not, but once again, same thing like we saw in the other one, in the Creo session, it's just a matter of installing that and having to go through and publish any images once it's checked in. So that way we'll get those 3D viewables as well. So it's not, the difference between SolidWorks and Creo, we just don't have the publisher in this environment to go in and create those viewables, but it will look the exact same way using the Workgroup Manager. So there's the files. Now, there is also one thing that is different or works a little bit differently between Creo and SolidWorks. When I'm in Creo and I begin to make a modification to a file, at that point immediately it asks me it tells me that it's not checked out, and it asks me to go through and check it out. For this one, so I'm just going to go ahead and open up this part here. Now I selected it from here, and it went in and opened it, of course, in Solidworks. Now, if I come over here and I go in and say, hey, I want to create a new feature, and I'm going to create something on that surface, and let's call it an extrude, do a cut. Now you have to excuse me, my SolidWorks skills are lacking. Let's do a quick little rectangle there. I know the basics. I can get around. And complete that. Now, I've gone through and actually made a change to this. When I come over and now do a save, it now gives me the notification that I don't have it checked out and to go in and now do the checkout for it. So if I have permission to check this out, of course, I'll be able to go ahead and just simply say check out. If I don't, I'll get an error that lets me know I don't have permission to go through and check it out. So that, once again, is the difference between SolidWorks and Creo. Is as soon as I do it in Creo, it tells me, hey, you don't have to check it out before I make modifications. SolidWorks will wait until I make the modifications and save before it gives me this notification. What am I saying? I'm saying check it out before you make modifications to it. So no matter what environment you're in, I do recommend that you go ahead and check it out. That way you know that you have the ability to go through and check out that file before you go through and save it. So it tells me here it was checked out and then it was saved. So once again, if I go back to my Workgroup Manager, there's a file, there it is, updated. If I know I'm going to make a change to this, then yes, I would come over here and say, check this out. That way, once again, I know immediately that I have the ability to check this file out and make changes to it. So once again, managing the data inside, managing your SolidWorks data inside of Windchill can be done, as you can see, in two main different ways. One of those ways is through Creo. And by using Creo, once again, what we're looking at, what we're looking at is still maintaining the SolidWorks file, but it's being driven by Creo. That once again means we don't have SolidWorks, but we still want to go through and use some SolidWorks data inside of our Creo sessions. Or if you are actively using SolidWorks, then you can use the Workgroup Manager to link SolidWorks and Windchill together, and now use Windchill as your data management or your PLM system, for all of your SolidWorks data. So this has been done, this is being done. We know of several companies that are they have SolidWorks, but they're actually using Windchill to manage their data. And once again, you still have the promotions, the change management, all that functionality inside of Windchill for your SolidWorks data. So the application isn't as important as it is what's controlling your actual data. So that's the PLM piece of it. So, and once again, when we talk about PLM as a whole, we can also go in, of course, manage non-CAD data. So any of your documents and things like that can also be stored. We just recently did a webinar on that as well, of doc management inside of Windchill. So once again, when you're looking at your PLM system as a whole, you're looking at managing all of your data, not just necessarily your CAD data. And always remember, permissions are also granted based on, the states. So we can go through and specify, okay, when something is in work, here's the people that can see it, and here's what access they have to it. When it's released, here are the people that can see it, and here's the access that they have. So through roles and object initializations, as well as the policy administrator, we can go through and specify the right person has the right access at the right time. So, all right. So at this point, that will conclude the demonstration. Are there any additional questions? Take that as a no. That means you guys understand everything I just did. But if you do have questions on any of that, of course, you can reach out to us. We are actively doing training. So anything, we do training virtually. Once COVID hit and everybody went virtual, there's still quite a bit of virtual training that we do. We do in-center, of course, live training, of course, on site, and we do a combination of the two. So we do virtual classes and in-center classes as a hybrid class. So of course, check our website for any information on our training, as well as any upcoming webinars that we have coming up as well. And if you do want to get in touch with me, feel free to reach out. Once again, my name is Michael Wimberley. You can reach me at mwimberley@pdsvision.us. If you will have a sales-related question, of course, you can go to sales@pdsvision.us or visit our website, PDS Vision US, as well as search YouTube for our YouTube channel, PDS Vision. And there you will see tons of videos of us doing webinars over multiple years, covering many, many different subjects. So once again, I want to thank you for your time and have a great